Okay, hello everyone. It's Stephanie from Lumeria Star. So today I'm going to be doing a video on decks leaving my collection. So I've not done a video like this before, so this one's the first. But really what I'm trying to do is really declutter and kind of like pare down my collection. I honestly, at this point, have way too many decks for my own good. It's kind of giving me anxiety, to be quite honest. Like I never really wanted to be a collector. I like to use every single one of my decks, which is why on my Instagram, Lumeria Star, that's actually why I started the Lumeria Star Tarot edit, the monthly edit, because I wanted to make sure that every single month I was rotating in decks and every deck would get at least a month's worth of love. So that's originally why I created that for me. But now I have way too many decks and I don't want to collect. There are collectors and that's amazing. And if you're a collector, like keep doing that. For me, it doesn't feel good. I don't like the idea of having decks sitting on my shelves and in drawers and in bins and baskets. Like I only want decks I use a lot. So with that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the decks that are leaving my collection. This is going to be part one because I'm going to do it in like batches, I guess, because if I did just one video, that would probably be way too long. So we're going to consider this decks leaving my collection part one. Disclaimer, all of these decks that are leaving my collection are awesome decks. So I want to like preface that like these are not knocks on the creator, the artwork, or anything like that. It's just that it's probably a deck that either I was having a hard time connecting with, or the like niche that it would fit into my collection might be oversaturated with other decks that I'm using for a similar purpose. So that's really all that is. I think all these decks are amazing. They're wonderful. I mean, there's a reason I acquired all these decks to begin with. It's because I thought they were beautiful. So with that being said, let's go through all these decks. And then as well, I wanted to make note that all of these decks will be for sale. I want to make them available to my coven on my Patreon first. So they will be getting first dibs of anything. And then most likely I will be doing a sale on my Instagram. I'll probably post them on Poshmark and Facebook Marketplace and things like that. So if there is a deck that you really love, you can always send me an email, stephgeiler@gmail.com. That's in the link below. You can get my contact info if there's something you really want. So otherwise, let's get started. So the first deck that will be leaving my collection is the Prism Tarot Brilliant Cut. This is by Liz Landis. So this really is a beautiful deck. I got this in my subscription box from 9 of Earth. And so like I didn't seek this out. This was a deck that kind of made its way to me. But so it does come with 2 extra cards. And the artwork is really beautiful. Like it's supposed to be like these like crystalline kind of like prism-like figures. And the artwork is really gorgeous. It's really colorful. I think the reason why this isn't going to stay for me is a few reasons. So number one, if I want a deck that's like bright and colorful and kind of has this almost like flat vector style artwork, I would choose my Mystic Mondays deck over this, which was my first deck. So obviously I'm really partial to that, but they kind of give me similar vibes. So yeah, I would choose Mystic Mondays over this. So I feel like they kind of fit the same niche for me. But on top of that, there aren't titles. So I think in my original walkthrough of this video, like I found some of these a little confusing. Like obviously this is cups, obviously this is like pentacles, but there's no titles. So just through me kind of like using my assumptions, I was like, I think this is a knight, but I don't want to have to work that hard with my decks, especially because I read professionally at events. So like if I'm having a hard time understanding what the card is even trying to be, it's not going to be super useful for me personally. Aside from that, I think the artwork is really stunning. Like this is the Empress, which is really, really beautiful. This is the World. So like, I think this deck would be perfect for someone who is like really drawn to this color palette. They also have all the elemental symbols on here. Let me see if I can find one. So they have like elemental symbols, they have astrological symbols. So like if that's something that you take into consideration when you read, I think this would be a great deck for you. Also, the edges are holographic, which is absolutely stunning. I really didn't use this deck at all. What did I do? I did my original walkthrough. I did a couple, you know, 3 or 4 card pulls to see how I felt, and it's just not for me, and that's okay. So the deck is practically brand new. It comes with these 2 extra cards. It does come with this like fold out astral calendar, and then also on the back it's the Tree of Life, which can kind of help you better understand that if that's a way you read. So that will also be included, as well as the full guidebook, which is really full of a lot of information. So it's really actually a pretty great guidebook. So the Prism Tarot Brilliant Cut will be leaving my collection. Okay, so the next deck I have here that will be leaving my collection is the Gold Lyre Tarot. This is gorgeous production. Like, I love this kind of box with the magnetic closure. I think more people need to be making boxes like this. So it does come with a guidebook that's full color and like glossy paper, really beautiful. And let's get the cards out. So with this deck, I think, here are the backs, by the way. I think with this deck, I have so many collage style decks. I think that's why this it's just not getting any love in my collection, but it really is stunning. The collage work is really, it's really beautiful. It's modern, it's clean. Like, I love the clean space with the background, so you could really focus on the imagery. It is very female centric, which is cool. I do like how there is diversity in here, with skin tones and body types. So it really is a wonderful and gorgeous deck. There are men in here. It's a lot of kind of like gender fluid characters, actually, I would say. It's a stunning deck, and it's actually a really clear reader. I've used it a few times. I really haven't used this much. I've definitely done like 1 card pulls on Instagram with this when I was, you know, testing out the deck. But I think for me, it's just getting lost in my collection of other decks that have a collage style that I gravitate towards more. So for that reason, I just don't want to keep it around. I feel like it's so beautiful and it deserves someone who wants to use this all the time. And for me, even when I rotate my decks, I have so many like similar decks that do collage work. It's just getting lost. So like that's really the reason why I'm going to pass this one along, but it's gorgeous. I mean, look at these cards. So yeah, this one, I want to see it have a good home. It is practically in like brand new condition, and this box is just stunning. I love the production quality of this deck. So this is also a deck that is going to be passed on. Gold Lyre Tarot. Okay, so the next deck leaving my collection is the Ascension Tarot. So this deck also, the production quality is gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Let me get some of this stuff out of the way. So I love the backs. And this is the only deck I have that is edged in this color. So it's like a really beautiful teal, and I love that so much. So the reason why this deck isn't getting any love is because the vibes of this really remind me of my Star Child. So I think it was the second deck I ever got, was the Star Child Akashic Edition. So it was like the tarot size deck, and it is that very like ethereal collage work, very like galactic and spacey, and this deck also really has that energy. So that's why I feel like I don't use it, because if I want this energy, I'm reaching for my star child. But the artwork really is beautiful. I mean, look at that moon card. Ace of Cups, Three of Crystals, and it's very similar too. So like the star child, they renamed pentacles crystals. So again, it's like very, very similar energies for me. So that's why this deck needs to go, just because I've already very much bonded to my star child. So this deck is getting no love, and it deserves the love. So yeah, so this is a really gorgeous deck, but it's not getting use in my collection. This is the card of the creator, Danielle Norman. It also comes with a card that has some tarot spreads, which I thought was nice. I do like when they include that. And then it has the guidebook, which is a nice little chunk. It fits in the box, and there's a pretty good amount of information in here. And it also includes reversals, so that's pretty nice. So this deck was also barely used, in pristine, brand new condition. So this deck will be leaving as well, and I hope for it to find a very good home. So that is the Ascension Tarot. Okay, so the next deck I have here is the Gift of Life Tarot. This deck is really beautiful too, and I kind of wish I was keeping it, but again, this is a deck that I'm just not using, and I think I know why. So I really love the premise of this deck. So the creator, she's also the creator of the Ghetto Tarot, I believe, which is all like photography that was in Haiti. So these are the backs, which are really pretty. But these are basically, it's like a very like photojournalistic style artwork. I mean, they're photographs. So the creator, what's her name? Alice Smeets. She's like an international photographer, and she does like documentary style photos, and then of people she meets in her travels, and then she turned them into a tarot deck, which I think is brilliant. And obviously it's really beautiful to highlight all these different countries and cultures and people. Honestly, I think why I don't use it is a lot of like the size. Like I've realized that like when decks are bigger, when tarot decks are more of an oracle size, I just don't reach for them as often. And I don't know what that is. I don't know, but I've noticed that. So I do think it's absolutely stunning. I also love how the borders make it look like a Polaroid, which I think is, I don't know if she even did that intentionally. She probably did, but I think that's brilliant. So it's just really gorgeous. They are renamed. So it's like son, daughter, I think mother, father. And then instead of like wands and cups, we have the elements. So fire, air. So it's just really gorgeous. It's really gorgeous, but it's just, I'm not using it. And I thought of keeping it just because it's beautiful. But again, I don't want to keep decks that are just going to sit there because they're beautiful. I'd rather have a deck go to someone who is using it all the time. Like that feels better to me. So this deck I'm going to send on its way to a good home. I do also really, really love this guidebook, and I'll tell you why. So for each card, it gives you the gifts of that card and the challenges. It explains what the card means. It also has the real life moment. So the author wrote down like who was in that photo, where was it taken, like the context of it, which I think is pretty cool. And then there's a life purpose reading, and I think that's really awesome too. And it does that for every single card, including the minors. So I just think that's really brilliant. Yeah, it's a gorgeous deck, and I am just not using it. So I want it to find a good home. And this is also barely used as well. For some reason, there is like a discoloration on the box right there, if you can see. That's how I received it. But otherwise, everything else is in absolute pristine condition. So that is the Gift of Life Tarot. Okay, So the next deck that is going to leave my collection, and this one was a surprise for me, this is the Heroine Tarot. Now, this deck is also super gorgeous. I want to love this, but the deck doesn't want to love me back, I think. So these are the backs, and these are some of the most gorgeous backs I've ever seen. I really love this like sun and moon, and it's subtle, so it can still technically be reversed in my opinion. These are holographic edges, which are absolutely gorgeous. It is a gloss, but I don't mind it. So these, this artwork is very fashion forward. It's very female centric. They're super beautiful. I just don't know why I'm reaching for it. And this kind of bugs me. Isn't this like Lisa Rinna? Like, I don't know. That's her, right? Like whenever I see these two, like, is that Lisa Rinna? Whenever I see that, it just pulls me out of like this world I want to be in. And I don't know if that was the artist's intent, but for some reason, every time I pull the Lisa Rinna cards, it just like takes me out of it. I don't know. But with that being said, these are absolutely stunning. They are like, it reminds me of like pages in a Vogue magazine. It's so fashion forward. It's so couture. I really love this Queen of Wands, and Queen of Wands is one of my like personal significator cards. So like, I just love so many of these cards, but like, I don't know, when some of those cards come up, I get really thrown out of my reading. And again, it's a size thing too. Like these are more oracle size, and I think that's an issue for me. So, but it's so beautiful, and like I love some of the cards so much. Like these are so gorgeous. But again, I don't want to collect decks. I've decided this. I am not a collector. I am a tarot reader, and I'm a tarot user. Like I like to use tarot. I read tarot. So I'm not going to keep decks I don't read with. But like this Page of Cups, like, are you serious with that dress? Oh my goodness. It's just so high fashion. It's so gorgeous, but I am not using it. And I think I'd be much happier if, like, look at that Five of Cups. So fashion. I'd be much happier if this deck found a good home. So I have used this deck, but it's in really, really excellent condition. So this will also be going. Hope I don't regret that one, but I think it needs to go. So I'm just gonna put that off to the side. So the next deck, which is super gorgeous too, is the Dracula Tarot. So this deck is a rock pool deck. The box is stunning. Like it's that really soft kind of velvety rose petal finish. The box is just gorgeous. I love all the details. The book is excellent. So like if you want to learn, if you love vampires, or if you want to learn about the history of Vlad Dracula, so if you're like a historian or just like a history buff, I think you'll really enjoy this because there's a lot of really good information in here. For me, the reason why I'm not going to keep it is just because I have way too many like dark and spooky decks. These are the backs, and then they are gold gilded. I have way too many spooky decks because like Halloween is my absolute favorite, and trying to fit them all into 1 month, like I can't do it. And the ones that I do have, I'm already really, really bonded to. So I know I'm going to feel guilty keeping this because I'm so bonded to my other like dark and creepy and spooky decks that like this isn't going to get love. So like the artwork is really stunning. It's kind of almost like that, I don't know if it's that wood block carving or if that's just how it was illustrated, but it's a really cool deck. It is super dark, but you know, that's a vibe for a lot of people. And if I didn't have an overly saturated deck collection in the dark and spooky decks, I would keep this, but I think it's going to get lost and I'm gonna feel guilty. I don't want decks to sit on my shelves. So this deck is too beautiful to sit there. So I want this to find a good home. I have only done a walkthrough of this and pulled a few cards. So this deck is essentially brand new. So this will be leaving my collection as well. I hope it finds a good home because it is just stunning. So that is the Dracula Tarot. All right, so that's going off to the side. Let me pull a couple others up here. I have my little box. Okay, so the next deck leaving my collection is the Two-Tone Tarot. So this deck is really interesting because there's two different versions of it. So there's a shadow version, which I have, and then there's also a light version, and then I'll explain more. So it comes in this really nice two-piece box, as you can see. So the shadow and light version both have the same backs, which is this really pretty black and white with the moon phase here. It's a really nice linen cardstock too, so it shuffles like amazing. So with the shadow edition, we have the black backgrounds with the white illustration. With the light edition, you have the complete opposite. So you have white backgrounds with a black illustration. So essentially you can use either of them completely on their own, but the author and the creator wanted to create this deck with the intention that you could actually buy both decks and then pick the cards that you want for each one to kind of make a custom deck, which I thought was really, really cool. So the artwork is really beautiful. It's very like simplistic. So it's actually a pretty easy reader in my opinion. The reason why I feel like this one needs to go is because I really don't pick up black and white decks too often. But when I do, I have my favorite. So my favorite black and white, you all probably know, is the Moon Void Tarot. So whenever I'm kind of craving that black and white energy and that kind of clean palette, that's the one I go for. And this one's kind of like languishing in my collection, and I don't want that. Although this Queen of Wands is like such a mood, such a mood. Yeah, this deck is awesome. This King of Cups, like what? Hello. So hot. Yeah, like some of these cards are just so great, but I'm not reaching for it. And again, decks sitting on my shelves and in my tarot baskets don't feel good for me. I get very anxious. I want things that I'm using all the time. So for that reason, I do want to let this deck go. I have used this a bit, but again, it's in excellent condition. I'm not sure if this is still available, or this might be out of print. I'm not really sure, but this will also be ready to go to a new home. So that's the Two-Tone Tarot. Okay, so the next deck leaving my collection is the Mood Tarot. So this is a disgustingly relatable tarot deck. This is by Natalie Meraki, and she actually signed this box. So if you do purchase this deck, it is signed. So this deck is cool for a lot of reasons. So number one, it's that plastic cardstock. So if you have any of those decks by Labyrinthos, so like the Golden Thread Tarot or Seventh Sphere, it's the same cardstock. It's plastic, so which makes it waterproof. So you don't have to worry about ruining your cards. I've taken this to the beach before. So it's a really nice, very durable cardstock because it's plastic. So essentially this deck is the Rider-Waite-Smith, but it's reimagined with like funny little speech bubbles and very like adult type humor. So it reminds me of, or maybe it was created off of that, like those tarot memes that were going around like a few years ago. So like the Nine of Swords, like, did I leave the oven on? Like that's kind of what they are. So like they're definitely more adult, not for kids. But yeah, this was definitely fun. I had my time with it. but I'm not reaching for it. It can definitely be read completely as a real tarot deck, but for me, it was a little bit more of a novelty. And again, I don't want novelty decks. I want decks that I'm actually really working with. So as fun and cool as this is, and again, you could totally read this as just like a straight Rider-Waite-Smith, absolutely. Like diligently filling orders for the Dark Lord. It's a cool deck, but I'm not reaching for it because I already have other Rider-Waite-Smiths I love. So yeah, I don't want to just keep this, but it is great if you just collect Rider-Waite-Smith, or you want to like kind of like a funny like iteration of it. It's waterproof. There's a lot of really cool things about this deck, like the Nine of Pentacles, treat yourself. Like that's such Nine of Pentacles energy. I'm only mostly dead. So it's fun, but I'm not using it. So again, like this deck needs a good home. It is signed by the creator, so this one's going to be going to. And yeah, it comes in the original tuck box, which, you know, it's a tuck box, so it's seen, you know, it's seen better days, but it's a tuck box and it's still in really good condition. So that is the Tarot Mood deck. Okay, so the next deck leaving my collection didn't come in a box, it just came in a little drawstring bag, and that is the 80s Tarot. So this deck is super cool. These are the backs. It wasn't like edged or gilded or anything. And it is exactly what the title says. It is all 80s references. So I was a child of the 80s, so this deck kind of just like hit all the right notes for me. I love all the references. So if you are a child of the 80s or just an 80s lover and have an affinity for the 80s, like look, like never ending story. This deck is so much fun, and it definitely is a great reader too. But again, when I originally got this deck, I was like, ooh, this is such a great collector's item. And then I've realized over the years, like, I don't want to be a collector. So I could easily keep this deck for nostalgia purposes. It's so cool. Like, who remembers like the old school floppy disks and like the old school Apple, like Macintosh computers? I just don't want to be a collector. I don't want to be a collector. So I want this to go to someone who either is a collector or you will actually read with this deck all the time because it deserves it. It's so much fun. Like Blockbuster, TV dinners. Who didn't grow up on TV dinners? Like the old school lunch boxes. Like I just love these, but I'm not, it's a little too novelty for me that I'm not picking it up on the regular. So this is in really, really excellent condition because I've not used it too much. So this will be on its way out of my collection to a new home, and it's just going to be coming in a little, like, what are these bags called? They're not linen bags. I don't know what these are called, but it's just going to come in a little baggie like this because it didn't come with a box. Okay. So the next deck leaving my collection, which I'm kind of sad about because it's so cute, is the Major Barcana Tarot. And it is so cute. It has so many different kinds of dogs. I love the bright colors. I love how the titles are like dog collars. But I already struggle with animal decks. Like I've realized this about myself. I love animals, but for some reason when they're in tarot decks, I do have a hard time, like the messages don't want to come through easily for me. And I'm not sure what that is. I'm still trying. I have my Northern Animals tarot deck, and that's kind of the deck that's bridging that gap for me. And maybe it's because they're like anthropomorphized. So that's my kind of like go-to animal deck right now. And then what am I trying to say? In regards to like specifically dog decks, I do have the Lowrider Dachshund Tarot, and I have a Dachshund. I love Dachshunds. That's like my dog breed of choice. So if I'm going to keep a dog deck, that's the one I'm keeping. So, and even though I don't even really use that one, but that one is more nostalgic because it has dogs that look exactly like the dog I have now and the dog I had previously. So I don't need 2 dog decks because I don't want to be a collector. So as gorgeous as this deck is, and my dog is in here, which is so cute. As amazing as this deck is, and it gives me such good vibes, I think this one needs to go too. I don't know. Maybe it's so cute. Am I changing my mind on this one? Like maybe I could use this. I'm just thinking out loud right now. Maybe I could use this just for client readings and at events, because it is a pretty clear reader. It's very Rider-Waite-Smith, and dogs are pretty universal. All right, so I have the right to change my mind, obviously. So I think this one is going, but I'm not sure. If I keep this, the purpose of this deck, I believe, will be to read for others, because I do have decks that specifically are just for clients and events and things like that. So I think this might go, but now I might change my mind. So that's the Major Arcana Tarot. So we will see about that. Okay, so I have a couple more. Bear with me. Okay, so the next one that is going to leave my collection is the 2020 Visions Tarot. This is a Major Arcana deck by Crystal Banner. So this deck is really gorgeous. It comes in that magnetic closure box. So this deck is really special because this really encompasses everything that we kind of experienced in 2020. These are the backs, and it's got this beautiful rose gold edging. So this deck is brilliant. This is, to me, when I bought this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a collector's edition. This is amazing. So I did back this on Kickstarter, and it's actually a very awesome deck. It's a great way to commemorate just like everything we've been through in 2020. And most likely this will be a collector's item, which I think is amazing. But with that being said, I don't want to be a collector, and I'm not a collector. So it's not a deck I've ever used. I've never even used it once. I flipped through it. I think it's awesome. There is an extra card, the 5th dimension, and each card you can read about like what it means and like its symbolism in regards to 2020. So this deck, I just wanted to find a good home. Someone, and again, I use Major Arcana decks, so that's not even the issue. It's just, it seems more the reason I bought it was for collector's purposes, and then I realized that's not what I want. So that deck's gonna go. The next deck leaving my collection is the 2nd edition of Practical Magic Inner Witch Oracle, and this production quality is stunning. Magnetic closure box. You open it up, it's got the ribbon. So this is kind of like a cheat, but the only reason this is leaving my collection is because I have the other edition. So this is the New Moon edition. So all that means, and they both have the same backs, all that means is the edging is different. So this is like a black holographic. I don't know if you can see that, if the light will catch. But I have the same exact edition, or the same exact deck, but it's the Full Moon edition, which is gold gilded, and I just like the gold gilded better. So this one's gonna go, just because I simply have another copy of it. And it's a really great deck. I have a video on, I don't know if I put it on my YouTube channel, but it is on my Instagram, of my walkthrough and me pairing this with other decks. So it really pairs really nicely with some of my dark and spooky decks, which I really love because those are some of my favorite decks to use. So if you love practical magic, this is an awesome deck, but also it totally works if you've never seen the movie. Like that's not like a make or break for this deck. It's just super witchy, it's fun, it's got great keywords. The deck also includes a handful of cards that are different spreads you can use, which I love. And I haven't even tried like any of these, so I really need to. Like I missed the new moon, but maybe I'll do the full moon spread. Like witches self-care, element of earth, air, Inner Witch check-in. So I think that's fantastic. Again, the production quality is really excellent, which I appreciate, like high quality decks. And then the guidebook is really great. It's all black, it is color, and we've got like keywords. There is a affirmation and the meaning. So I think the box and the book is really great too. So this is simply going just because I have the same deck in the full moon edition, but this is gorgeous and I want this to find a good home. Okay, so the last deck in this video that is going to find a new home is the Ultimate Edition of the Keymaster Tarot. So it came in this gorgeous, gorgeous box, which is totally a collector's piece. And again, that's the only reason why it's going. So I didn't even open it, but you can flip it open. And the cards are still in the plastic. So this is completely sealed, and this is completely out of print too. They are gold gilded, and it comes with the original guidebook with the beautiful ribbon, and it's like velvet inside. So again, I don't want to be a collector, and I think this is a gorgeous collector's piece. I do have another version of the Keymaster Tarot. It's like the basic one. It's not gilded. I like gilded. I edged it in like a black Sharpie. It's just in a pouch, and that totally works for me. So I feel like this gorgeous piece is kind of wasted on me. I wanted to go to someone who maybe has been looking for it and who wants it. It's completely out of print. I don't think it's going back in print. So it's going to come completely sealed with this. And then it also, whoever wants to buy this deck, I'm going to include the pouch, the original pouch. And then this is also a 2-piece wooden card holder, so you can put it together and display your card of the day, and that came with the Kickstarter campaign. So that is going to go, and that is my part 1 of decks leaving my collection. So let's just kind of like take a look at what I have here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So I have 13 decks getting ready to leave my collection. Like I said, I'm going to share these first on my Patreon. So if you're interested in any of these and have been thinking about joining my Patreon, this is maybe the time to join. From there, I will definitely share these on my Instagram, and I'll be sharing them on my Poshmark closet, as well as probably like Facebook Marketplace, eBay, things like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed my first declutter video. So this is decks leaving my collection part 1. Hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think of some of these decks. Do you have them? Do you not have them? Do you want one? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in part 2, because there's definitely a part 2 coming. So take care, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.